Hey everyone, before I continue with the video I must tell you that the entire plot from episode 6 has leaked online on Frikidoctor Channel, which is in Spanish and one Reddit user translated it. Also must tell you this looks pretty amazing and I personally had hard time believing it. I also must say this video is full of spoilers, so proceed with caution. You have link in the description if you want to check Frikidoctor YouTube channel. Episode 6 will be second longest episode with runtime of 71 minutes. And lot of crazy shit will happen. So let's start. The episode starts with the excursion beyond the wall, which includes John, Gendry, Thoros, Beric, Jorah, Tormund, the Hound, and 2 or 3 other soldiers. Sir Davos does stay behind, because he isn't much of a fighter. The excursion continues through the north. As they travel, a lot of conversation came up. This is when Jon offers Longclaw to Jorah. Jon Snow says that it belongs to him since it belonged to his family. But Jorah says something like, "No, you keep it. I'm not worthy of carrying this sword. My father gave it to you for a reason." Tormund and the Hound have a conversation about Brienne, which the Hound is amazed at how much Tormund admires and likes Brienne. Jon and Beric now have one thing in common, which is being brought back by R'hllor, and they discuss what it may mean and what their purpose might be. They continue north by trying to follow the vision the Hound saw in the flames. Finally, they see the mountain shaped like an arrowhead. This is when a large blizzard starts, and they hear a weird growl, which they can't seem to recognize. But then one of the soldiers tries to find out what it is, when out of nowhere a reanimated polar bear shreds him to pieces. But because of the heavy blizzard, no one is sure what has happened. When the beast attacks Thoros, the beast stomps Thoros and gives him a few slashes with his claws, but Thoros is also giving the bear a few slashes with his sword. At the end, between all of them they are able to kill the beast, but Thoros is badly wounded. The mission must continue though, with the man down and Thoros balancing between life and death. Things looks dire. This is when they realize that a reanimated polar bear means that the White Walkers are not far, and they must hurry, but now they cannot avoid them. They run into a horde of whites and one White Walker. Here is when Jon battles his second Walker one-on-one. As Jon battles him, the others try to capture White, but it's hard, as the other Whites also attack at the same time. But at last they finally capture one and try to immobilize him. At this point the White Army attacks all at once, without mercy. When our group of heroes see this, the only thing they can do is run. The group then decides they must split. As they run to raise the chances of survival, Jon commands Gendry to run back to Eastwatch and set the Raven to Dany to come and rescue them. After they run for a while, they come together in the middle of a frozen lake, and all the movement and fighting eventually break up parts of the ice. And our group of heroes are stuck in the middle of the lake on a large piece of ice that floats above the other smaller pieces of ice. They then make a circle and get ready for incoming horde. But the horde doesn't come, so they have to wait and wait till they attack. While this happens, Gendry is running towards Eastwatch to send a Raven, but much time has passed and our wounded Red Priest succumbs to his injuries and dies. Beric then with his flaming sword burns him to avoid him coming back as a White. During this time of waiting, the Night King lurks around and from afar stares at Jon, and Jon stares back without fear. Now that the lake has refrozen, the horde rushes at Jon and everyone starts kicking ass. Tormund is almost overrun, even though he is the most badass in this scene, but he is saved by his fellow companions. During this time some are fighting alone, others are fighting together. It's chaos and not looking good, when all of a sudden we hear the famous dragon roars of Drogon, Viserion and Rhaegal. Dany has come to save the day, but she must first help fight back the White and find a place to land that wouldn't cause the ice to break and her dragons or Jon and company to drown. As everyone starts getting on Drogon and Rhaegal, Viserion provides aerial support. Jon stays back fighting Whites on his own to let the others board the dragons. The Night King throws a spear made out of crystal ice and hits Viserion in the neck, and with one throw brings him down. This fight is over a lake, and when he falls on the ice, breaking it and sinking under the water. Jon hurries to get on top of Drogon, but falls when Drogon takes off, and sinks under the lake as well. And when Dany sees that Jon is pretty a goner, she leaves with the survivors, that believe it or not were able to keep the captured White. After all this, a wounded Jon swims back to the surface, but he is pretty much dead anyway, because the whole undead army is there surrounding him. But that's when Benjen comes to the rescue. He makes a breach in the White Army and gives Jon his horse to ride back to the wall. The survivors make it back to Eastwatch, and Dany is traumatized and heartbroken for the loss of her child, as any mother would. Later, Jon arrives at Eastwatch badly wounded. and he is loaded onto a ship heading towards King's Landing, along with Danny and others. The Hound is entrusted with taking the White to the Dragon Pits. John is messed up, tired and wounded when Danny goes to check up on him. John sees how hurt she is. John tries to console her, which is when Danny tells him, "He was like a son to me. It's like they have taken my son from me." And then she says something like, "I promise I will defeat the Night King." John sees that she wants to fight the Night King, and he says if she does indeed join him in fighting the Night King, he won't bend the knee. John called her Danny, which takes her back a little, and she says, "No one has called me that since my brother," to which he responds, "What would you like me to call you?" "Your Grace, my Queen." John goes on to say that he would bend the knee if he could, but makes a notion that he literally can't bend it since he is wounded. This takes Danny by surprise and shocks her. Then she says, "You will bend the knee. What about those who follow you?" The scene does cut to north of the wall, where the Night King orders Viserion to be pulled up from the lake. The Whites pull him out of the lake with chains. He is definitely dead. But then he opens his eyes, as blue as the Night King's. He is brought back to life, and that's how things end in this episode Beyond the Wall. This is pretty crazy, and since those leaks from October, we expected some things like Expedition Beyond the Wall. Many fans also expected that Jon and Daenerys will fall in love, and that the Night King will kill one of the dragons. I don't know what is true, but it's certain that awaits us some pretty crazy drive this season. This is the best part. If you want to read what will happen in the rest of the episode, link is in the description. This is all for today. If you like this video, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you soon with more news and theories.